Welcome to Psych Hip Hop, Talk This Way, part of the Natanya Experience family of shows where we explore the powerful intersection of mental health and urban culture. My guest today is none other than Rhyme Assassin, a Zimbabwe-born, UK-based master of lyrical flow. Rhyme shares his experiences transitioning from Zimbabwe's vibrant music scene into a cultural clash of it in the UK, and what that journey did to influence his unique sound. We'll explore his upcoming album and delve into his powerful work with gangs, trying to help them see a better way forward. How he channels his resilience and positivity into music that resonates with listeners globally. Join us as we discuss the transformative power of his art and the personal stories behind his lyrics. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Psych and Hip Hop. My guest today is Rhyme Assassin, who comes to us from the UK via Zimbabwe. Welcome to the show.
Oh, welcome. Glad to be here. I hope you're doing good. I'm excited to be on this platform.
Thank you so much. I am doing really well. And likewise, I hope that you are. In fact, we're going to come back to a theme about stereotypes that are positive about cheerfulness and positive vibes in a little bit. But just to kind of set the scene for where you are now, would you like to talk a little bit about what you're excited about right now? And then we're going to kind of go back and talk about your career and how it came to today.
Okay, so at the moment, excitement. I'm nearly finished with my album, so that's something I'm really excited about. I've got 2 singles out at the moment. I think I got one more to go and a few videos before the album drops. And I've got exciting features on the album, dope production. So I'm pretty much excited on how it's gonna be received. And it's gonna be exciting. A lot of tours coming up, already set it up. So yeah, the main thing I'm excited about is the album is gonna be dropping a few months from now.
Amazing. So your journey started in Zimbabwe and then took a significant turn, probably both professionally and personally, when you moved to the UK. Can you share a little bit about what that was like and also how you sort of navigated these diverse cultural backgrounds and how that influenced your music and lyrical themes?
So I started way back, like when I was in Zimbabwe. That's when I started like recording a few tracks, doing shows, freestyle battles, back even when I was in high school. But shortly after that, like my career didn't like properly took off when I was still in Zimbabwe. So I relocated to the UK. But when I go to the UK, like there's like culture shock, everything is different. The diversity, I didn't know where the studios were at. Like even just basic things like knowing where to get the instrumentals and everything for. So, and but the reason also, like relocating was for like greener pastures. So as soon as I go to the UK, my priorities was more on, setting my life up, getting a job, put food on a plate. So, that distracted me for a good number of years, trying to get my settle up. But then eventually I started working with this company called Kids Company. It was basically dealing with like, the young kids in gangs. So trying to take them off the street, like there's many key workers working with the kids, talking to them. So part of our daily routine, like Monday to Friday, is to from like 7 p.m. to like 10:30 in the evening to provide activities for the young kids. So by doing those activities, they'll stop being in the street and come onto the site, do activities. So part of those activities was like with a recording studio on the premises. So like, and we had one dope
Cool.
producer who was producing music for the kids called Deep Voice. So he started doing the music. So sometimes you do like a little bit of freestyling, and then I was like, oh, I think I need to go back in the recording. So I started getting beats off him. He connected me to a few studios. That's when I reignited again, like my passion to record. And I started doing albums, won a few awards in Zimbabwe. And, from there, it's just like it was just setting up, going on every day. So that's how I ended up like reigniting the music passion when I was in the UK.
Well, there's a lot there to unpack for a moment. So, first of all, am I correct in understanding that you didn't really know anybody or have much connection or family in the UK when you came? Like you were sort of on your own, fending for yourself, like you said, trying to put food on the table, getting a basic job to be established in society. Is that correct?
Yeah, because my only relative was my uncle, who had his own family and two children. Yeah, so when I came, I was living with him, but obviously you don't want to be dependent for too long. So, like I was just trying to get my hustle up, look for my own job, move out and, get your own place and everything. So, yeah, so it took a bit of time to navigate and to get where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a lot to navigate from the ground up. And then I don't want to pause for a minute and go into the work that you were doing with youth and gangs. That's incredible and obviously ties a lot into what we talk about on the show in terms of challenges with addiction and mental health. And, some of it comes from lack of purpose or opportunity and experience and love. And it sounds like you were giving these young kids all of those things, right? A way to find something exciting to do that was sort of a healthy expression and outlet happened to be one of the things were in an area that related to you and kind of reignited your desire to record, which is amazing. And I just wanted to thank you as another, as a parent, as another human being, that you did that for so many young people. I'm sure you changed many a life in a positive way. And it's also, it's not easy stuff. I'm sure you saw and heard a lot of things that were a bit heartbreaking at times. So with that, I would love to ask you about your own resilience, your own ability to move through challenges and doubt and fear or whatever they may be, because you have such a warm, robust, positive energy. Have you always carried this, or is this something you've come to in later life?
Um, s- I think it gradually grew. Um, but I also believe, like, no matter who you are in life, you are gonna get to some stages where you feel like I can't handle this. You hit your low points. But as far as the resilience, like when I was growing up, my father always like tried to teach us about life, sit you down. Even my mom, talk about life. Like in life, you're gonna meet certain situations that's going to be difficult, but you need to try and be strong. But as much as anyone can tell you the words, but sometimes you need like the real life experience to go through certain things, um, for you to be able to get through over those things. Because there's many times you hit rock bottom, but you try to keep yourself occupied, try to be positive. If you got someone you can confide in, it's always best to like talk to them so they can encourage you and share. So yes, for me, like for personal experience, way back when I was in the UK, I started doing like some business. Well, I'm not gonna go too much into the business, but then there was like some fraudulent activity that happened, so we ended up losing like almost 200K into the business from whatever happened. So like for having coming to the UK from scratch, starting a business, then in a few days you lose everything. So like I hit rock bottom. You start getting depressed. Yeah, but I had my uncle to speak to. And I think the most biggest thing for me, I know everyone will have their own thing, but for me, it's always been music. So anytime I felt like real low, I always felt like if I'm listening to music, like hip hop specifically, because that's what I used to listen to most of the time. It like it took away most of the stress, but obviously it's not going to go forever. You need to work on the feelings you have, and try and change the situation. So yeah, but with experience, then you know how to deal with certain situations. And some situations, if you feel like you can't change them for whatever reason, so sometimes you just have to accept it and live with those things without trying to get too emotional about it.
So, you talked about your parents giving you a foundational guidance on how to navigate challenges. You talked about your uncle helping you. You talked about finding connection with music and things that, buoyed you and brought your spirits up when you were hitting real low part, or the rug was pulled out from under you. You just started investing and working in a new career, and then it was basically hijacked with a fraud, right? So that was sort of, a forward and back step, right? In
Yeah.
the work that you did with the youth, did they have any training for you in your role in terms of how to handle difficult emotions or challenging, I say emotions or behaviors in young people in that program?
Yeah, they had to send us to many trainings in regarding to like basic stuff, mental health, depression, and just challenging behaviors in children. So the reason why they had to send us so that we know how to deal with the situations the children are facing. And the more knowledge you have about a certain subject, then you become less judgmental. So you kind of have an idea where this could be coming from, and find better ways to deal with the stress on how to help the other kids. So yeah, they always send us on different multiple trainings regarding to mental health, whether it's gangs or anything like that.
If you could generalize a little bit, and I know this is looking back a little bit, but focused a lot on this sort of youth gang intervention program, and also the link with hip hop and culture and music as expression, as artistry, as mental health relief. So that's why I'm circling back to it. Thank you for doing that with me. So, thinking back to that time, would you be able to say some general themes that you felt were going expressed often with the young people? Like, in terms of what were the things they were angry about? What were the things they were frustrated about? What made them want to be in a gang versus be in sort of more traditional society? And how did you introduce the recording studio with them? And what was their sort of reaction? And, just some more details about that.
So, looking at the background situations in most of the situations, so most of them had different vulnerabilities. Some were coming from broken homes. They had like maybe just the dad, or maybe it could be just the mom. So sometimes it's to become vulnerable because to put food on the plate. The mom, I have three kids, no husband, so half the time she's at work, and no one is really like looking after the children. So that's how sometimes elder people in the gang, that's how they get access to the children, because they're vulnerable. Um, and sometimes it's just like culture shock, because sometimes it's people who have relocated into the UK, then everything is different. Some can't come from non-speaking English countries. They might speak French. So even just that frustration that they can't really make friends easily, they can't really communicate with anyone. So all those little things like the add frustration. And sometimes it could be just failures in school, where they feel like they're not doing great in school, and like the parents are always trying to put pressure to do good. And sometimes they feel they wanted to do something else, and maybe the parents might say no. So sometimes it's a situation where you end up having to sit down with the parents to try and discuss, like, I know education is important, but he kind of feels like a little passion in this. So if you can give them a little bit of time to exercise their passion. So it's not easy, it's quite complex. So in every situation, generally has to be dealt with different, because every situation is always different. um and also sometimes the disconnection between the children and the parents could be, if it's like a single parent, they're obviously overwhelmed with the children, having to work a lot. So some part of our ways to deal with the children, because we also believe that a child is not able to grow the right way if the mom is always stressed and angry. So, for example, for the single moms, they had like therapy sessions with the company, or sometimes they invited just simple things like coming to have a massage or to get their nails done for free or getting their hair done, just to try and distress the parents. But obviously, it wasn't for every single woman. Every situation was different. So our main aim was to try and identify, the source of the problem, and try to deal with the source of the problem directly. So it was quite diverse and complex.
That's incredible on so many levels. And again, I applaud you and the organizations that you worked with for doing that. And it really is sort of like a community approach to care, understanding the needs of the individual. And then if it's a minor, who are those influences in their life? And is there anything to help? That's incredible. Let's shift gears a little bit now and talk more about you and your music and also your influences. So, 2014, I think it's Party People, the hit single.
People,
And
yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be and some of your influences there?
Um, on the song, because me and my man T Nice, we're both in a group called Nameless 263. When we started doing like music, um, so actually T Nice is the one who sourced the instrumental. So it's like, oh, he's got this, sick instrumental. So I was already in the UK then, but I traveled back home, and he lives like, like 4 or 5 hour drive from where I used to live. So we listened to the instrumental, and we thought, oh, this is a crazy instrumental. Um, so like we're like, let's just play the beat, and we wrote the song. We went to one of the producers I work with mostly, called P to the O in Blawayo. So we went to the studio to record the track. So initially when I done the track, sent it to the radio stations. So I think the initial, I did the three verses, and T Nice did the hook and intro. So, however, but like the feedback I got initially was like they thought the song is like a fraction too short. Because I think initially two verses, so they told me it's a bit short. I needed to add another verse, or make it a bit longer. So I had to go back in the studio to add the third verse, which I done and sent it to the radio, and which they appreciated. So we ended up getting a lot of spin, being number one on for many weeks on Zimbabwean top 10 and the top 20. And also at the end of the year, they do like a top 100 for worldwide songs, and it managed to be also in the top 100. So I think as far as the hit was, that was my biggest track, which was the number one for many weeks. So yeah, that's how I ended up having that track.
I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Again, I know we're talking about generalities here, but because you project such a positivity, it's pretty unique in the hip hop world, especially in the US, right? Right now, we're dealing with another famous rap battle, but we know from history back in the days of Tupac and Biggie and all that, it's sort of this hard life focus. And there's some other folks, particularly some out of Atlanta, and that that kind of focus more on the good life and what you can get and be and become. But I was wondering about how the influences you may have had from the US, like who are some of the people that you look to for inspiration in the hip hop world? Sorry.
And people up. Yeah, so initially the people who influenced me to start writing my songs, um well, to listen to hip hop initially, the first tapes I was given by my friend who was already listening to hip hop was Doggy Style, Snoop, Jesus the Liquid Souls, and I think Ready to Die. So like my first impression for hip hop, like they gave me like people who do like real hip hop. So that was my first influences to liking the genre. Um, then as far as writing, I think it was Cannabis mainly and KRS One because when Cannabis came in, starting to get in the game, he had a lot of features, but I felt like he was like ripping everyone on every single feature he had. And because when he started, he wasn't like popular initially. But I was like, damn, who's this guy featuring all these big guys? But like he's killing every verse he's on. So he get me intrigued. Plus, it's just that his writing style was a bit different, used a little bit of big words, a bit scientific. So like he had me thinking, like, oh, what does this mean? Try. So it get me like intrigued and started writing my own rhymes. And KRS One because he always spoke about knowledge of self, and just intelligent rap. So like those are the main motivations initially when I started doing um, hip
Which
hop.
is, yeah, that is quite unusual and impressive and exciting because it's sort of a different lens that doesn't always come through the mainstream narrative. And I think it's, in Rhyme Apostles or in general, you do a lot of collaborations, right? So you just spoke about one, and that diverse lyrical style that you have, that it's been written about you and that kind of thing. I wonder if it, because of the fact that you're open to mixing genres and mixing different kinds of styles, like you said, and was just wondering about what that's like when you're collaborating directly with other artists and why you choose to do that so often.
So so first of all, like now when I started doing music in the recent years, because most of the people like I've done like on the Rhyme Apostles, there was 11 other MCs, and even the recent track is featuring M.O.P. So every single person on the record, like I'm actually a fan of. So if I briefly like on the Rhyme Apostles track, initially my first thought was just to have four MCs. Were meant to be four, but I'd already titled the song Rhyme Apostles. So then I'm thinking about it, and I was like, oh, but the biblical apostles were 12, so why can't I just, rip that script and, make us 12? But then it took a lot of time to get everyone together. But then, I started approaching different people one after the other until I ended up getting to 12 MCs. Um, but how I got to choose them, like, it's all MCs, I look up to, I respect their music. So, like for me, I was more than happy to have any of them on the track. Even with M.O.P, I've always been a favorite. M.O.P is one of my favorite hip hop groups. So like when they accepted to be on the track, like it was nothing but excitement for me because like they're legends in the game. So the fact that they accept that was a big win for me. So, and also the reason why I do some of the collaborations, to get trying to get more exposure from the other bigger MCs. So that's also one of the reasons too.
And it must be so validating to have people that you look up to, or like you said, you admire, or they're, an influence, to be able to collaborate with them must be quite uplifting to you and validating. And like you said, to getting to share the stage, literally and not literally. um, so thank you for sharing that. So I kind of want to just end on this question. Given your influence and experience, what advice would you give to emerging artists dealing with the pressures of the music industry and sort of staying true to their artistic vision?
Yeah, I think like as for me, it's working out quite good. I mean, sticking to your guns, and I think every MC, like deep down, they know which type of MC they really want to be. But I know obviously there's a lot of like distractions and everything. But I feel like the moment you try to be someone else who you're not, and if it doesn't work out, then you try to go back to who you really are. fans then will end up not knowing, where you stand. So I think if you just stick to your script for the type of music, the type of message you're trying to share with the people, I think it will always work out. Because like if you've created fans who like your message, then the next day you are switching, then you lose those fans. So I think if you stick to your guns, and the more music you put out, you have more and more fans. I know it might take a long stretch, but I think it will eventually work out. Because I mean, if I look at other MCs like KRS One, he's still doing like 50-day shows. The Onyx are doing like 60 shows in a row because they just stick to their script. So eventually it always work out. So I think my message will be: believe in yourself, stay positive. I know there will always be someone to say something negative, but I mean it comes with the music. So not to take it too seriously. Just keep on going.
Well, I thank you so much. This was really lovely. I'm very excited about your upcoming work. I'm thankful that you spent the time with us today. And just thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh, thank you, much appreciated. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.